Hello, everyone. Welcome back to OpenLine. Glad you're with us. We are talking with Tequila Johnson. She is with the Equity Alliance, and she's joining us via Zoom, talking about the racial wealth gap when it comes to home ownership in the midst of this hot housing market. What impact is that having on black and minority home ownership? And also some of the news of the day, and that had to do with the congressional redistricting maps that were put out by the legislature. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Taylor. Hello, Taylor.
Hello, Ben, and hello to your guest. I understand her plight when she's talking about this housing thing. Of course, fortunate enough to still be able to pay my property taxes on a older home that I've had forever, but you would think it was a castle on the hill when I get that tax bill. But at any rate, a good deal of this problem has come especially from the federal government and the low interest loans, not particularly for the homeowners, but these large companies that have billions of dollars to invest, and they realize that real estate is as safe a place as any, so they're buying up any home they can find, spend $1,000, $2,000 on it, and if it's a rental property, jack that rent up. The same goes for any second or third grade type apartment buildings. They're doing the same thing with those, and I mean, if you've got a reasonable down payment, you'll still be outbid on so many homes, and it don't matter what part of town. But my main reason for calling was the redistribution of the congressional districts.
Right.
One thing to keep in mind is those congressional districts supposedly, and as normally as correct as possible, are based on population. So you take the amount of population for each district and you try to make the numbers pretty close. You don't want one congressman representing 700,000 people and another one representing 150,000. So that is somewhat of a legitimate reason for Davidson County being split up. Now, I'm not going to pretend to say it shouldn't be three, but it's too big for population-wise for one congressman like we currently have for Nashville. So,
okay,
based on that alone, Davidson County is bound to have some encroachment from other districts, but like I say, I'm not going to pretend to say which counties it should be,
all right,
where or how many, but one.
All right, well, Taylor, I like that. Let's talk about that. And Tequila, you can talk about both those. I like both of your points. Thank you for calling in. All right, he's saying obviously they all need to be equal when it comes to this redistricting. I think it's like 700,000 votes, maybe 770,000. He's saying that's why Davidson was carved up. Now he even admits maybe three is, you know, he can't defend that. But how accurate is that? But based on what you know.
Well, based on what you just said, Cameron Sexton said it's not. He said that it's a tool that even Democrats use to divide up people and gain power, right? So I'm just going to roll with what Cameron said. It's a tool that's used to gain power for one political party over the other. Unfortunately, in Nashville, the urban core, which is majority black, is a pawn in that whole chess game of gaining political power in Nashville. So I'm going to roll with that.
With what Cameron Sexton said. And then the other thing he said, and you've alluded to this, is that he said, it's interesting, low interest rates, big companies are just pouring their money into real estate, and that average homeowners can't compete. You mentioned California, people moving from other states, they have lots of money, they sell their house, but also big companies. And are you seeing that in all across the state? What are you seeing as far as big companies pouring money into real estate?
Absolutely. We're seeing a lot of out-of-state, out-of-country developers come in and buy up huge plots of land, and they sell the homes to those coming from California who can afford to buy a tall and skinny house for $600,000-$700,000. So, I mean, we all heard about the whole Zillow thing and everything that's going on there. So it's not, and it's not something that's new. It's something that's been done before. It's just a recycled tactic. We're just living through that part in our history. So, yeah, he's right on that part. Now, the other part, not so much, but that part, I can say I somewhat agree with him.
Okay. All right, let's go to Larry. Hello, Larry.
Yeah.
Go right ahead. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I was wondering about this Tennessee lottery. I mean, they make millions, dollar after dollar after dollar, and they say it goes to education, and a lot of these schools are suffering here in the state. I've talked to a lot of school kids actually told me that the schools are falling apart, and they have this commercial on TV saying it's going to education, but where does this money actually go? Is it going into somebody's pocket? I mean, they're making millions. I mean, millions. And I'm just kind of curious. So I'll hang up, and thanks for taking my call.
All right, Larry. The money from the lottery is designated for education. What do you know about how this is done, Tequila? You were talking about the problem many schools are seeing. Is it secondary education? Is it for college maybe? Is that where this money goes from the lottery, or do you know?
Yeah, I don't know for sure, but I know that it definitely goes to secondary education. And I think it goes to several different forms of education. But everybody keeps acting like Tennessee spends a lot on education. Even with the lottery, we're still in the bottom 5% in the nation when it comes to how much we spend per child on education. So I think we're like 46 or 48 or something. But we're at the bottom. We rank at the bottom when it comes to voter participation because of all of the gerrymandering and voter suppression that's happening. And we rank at the bottom when it comes to how much we invest per child in our education system. So, while everybody feels like, oh, this is a lot of money, this is the price of living in a big city. Nashville is now becoming a metropolitan city. We don't have a state tax. We have to pay in order to enjoy the amenities that make Nashville a big city. And a lot of the people who are contesting a lot of the things voted for people who actually voted for, supported, and donated to people who actually helped to make Nashville become a big city. So, you really have to think about the I'm not going to say consequences because not all of it is bad, but you have to think about the impact of growth and investment in education and schools and our transportation and things like that. Our roads, our trash is a part of it.
The legislature is going to be talking about kind of revamping the funding formula in education. What would you like to see come of that? Will you be watching that? What about that discussion?
Yes, we actually have team members that are going to be there at that discussion, but spend more money in schools. Like it's a simple answer. Stop punishing Nashville. Hopefully now that they've gerrymandered Nashville, they can stop punishing us at a state level by making sure that they're investing in our education and that they're not trying to control our education system, by making sure that our economic development is a priority for Nashville and not a state-led priority. Hopefully now that they are winning by gerrymandering Nashville, they will stop targeting Nashville and punishing Nashville.
And why do you say, what do you mean by punishing Nashville?
For Nashville to bring in the majority of the state's revenue, Nashville doesn't even have a huge say-so in how Nashville is governed. We think about some of the policies that Nashvillians have said they wanted to see. A lot of the reasons why we aren't able to pass protections that will help renters and homeowners at a local level is because of things like state preemption. Even all the way down to how we manage our criminal justice system. We saw when Nashvillians overwhelmingly voted for a a community oversight board, there was a attempt of state preemption. So, when I talk about how they are targeting Nashville, the state comes in and dictates to Nashvillians what Nashville wants to see. And the reason why is because they say Nashville is a predominantly Democratic city, and we know our state is a Republican trifecta supermajority right now. So there is this feeling that Nashville is being punished because we don't necessarily agree with the state, but Nashville is providing the state with the majority of the revenue, and we have a huge population of people. We may be concentrated, but we have a huge population of people. And so there are some people in the state legislature who only preside over a few thousand people that are making decisions for hundreds of thousands of people in Nashville, and it's just not fair. So that's punishment.
Interesting. Okay, let's go to Wayne. Hello, Wayne.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Glenn. What I want to comment on is Nashville can be a extremely important city, a leader for the other cities in this nation. But as long as you got gerrymandering going on, and you got a lot of homeless people coming here seeking better opportunities, but you got the old golden rule, where the money makes the rules. Like you got this sports arena down here. You got this state of Tennessee. Got these coaches making $100 million. It was in the Tennessee on Sunday. $100 million. You can use all that money to help these students out and to help pay down these student loans. I mean, what kind of nation are we coming to? And then you got this East Bank over here by my neighborhood. I mean, a lot of these people moving here, they're driving like go dog go, because they got their feet on that gas running over people. It's wrecks all over this town every day. We could do better than this. They got all this vacant land you could build to help the homeless people out and help a lot of low-income people out. And the mayor, he might as well be a Republican, the way he's agreeing with everything the governor's doing. Something is wrong here, Mr. Glenn. Please give some advice on this.
All right. So you hear frustration there from Wayne. All kinds of things, even the way people drive. But he's frustrated with the mayor and frustrated with all kinds of things. What you hear that? I mean, you're out there and you're talking to people and you're trying to get them to vote. You're trying to get them engaged, and he's frustrated. And so what do you say to what Wayne is saying there?
You really have to understand that it's not going to happen overnight. Most of the things that have happened that have given improved the quality of lives of people or given people certain freedoms have taken centuries almost sometimes. So it is very frustrating. It is very disheartening to see the things that are happening. But we have to really, really, really hammer down and really figure out what we're going to do collectively to change some of this. A lot of the things that Wayne mentioned, were are a result of profit controlling our politics. And so until we really, really get people involved and start to elect leaders who care about people over profits, these issues, homelessness and all these things, are just going to exacerbate.
Okay. All right. We are going to take a break. Come back. Continue the discussion. We'll be back right after this.